Hey guys, welcome back to Level 6 Math. Today we're going to look at our Saxon Math Lesson 62. This is on writing mixed numbers as improper fractions. Now we've done the opposite of that. We've taken improper fractions and changed them to mixed numbers. Now we're doing the opposite of that, and the reason we need to do that is because sometimes we need to multiply mixed numbers and you can't do that. It just doesn't work. So we'll get through that here in a second. Here's a word problem about pies. Our last lesson was about pizzas. Pizza pies. Today we're doing pies. I hope when you have pie night at your household on March 14th or whenever you do it before Thanksgiving that you also include pizza as a pie because it is delicious. All right, so we're going to change a mixed number to an improper fraction. There's 3 and 5/6 pies. So that means that the pies are being cut into 6 slices. Those are pretty big slices of pie. The restaurant manager asked the server to cut the whole pies into 6. Altogether, how many slices of pie were cut after the server, were there after the server cut the pies? Now this is an important question, and we're going to go through several examples today because if you understand how this works, then when you get stuck and you're like, oh, there's a lot of things in math where it's like, do I line up the decimals or do I count the decimals? Do I have to do this or do I have to do that? If you understand how this works, you should be able to do it for forever and you're going to remember how to do it. All right? So we're going to start by looking at pies. We've got 1, 2, 3 pies, and they could all look like this, cut into 6, right? So if we had 6 slices, we could think, well, 6 times 1, 2, 3, that's going to be 18 total slices in these 3 pies. And then we add another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 18 plus 5 is 23 slices. And our denominator would be 6 because that's the measurement we're using. There's going to be 6 total slices in one pie. So we're going to get 23/6. But let's look at it. So they've cut it into 6 and then counted like we just did. 3 times 6 is 18, and plus the 5, that gives us our 23, or 23/6. So now we've changed it from a mixed number to an improper fraction. I think it makes sense when you look at it visually. Now the cool thing is, if we look at this 3 and 5/6, the way we do it mathematically is 6 times 3 is 18 plus 5. And we've done that before. But we haven't thought about why do we do it before. If we think 3 times 16, what does that represent? It means that there's 3 whole things, like in this case pies, and they're in 6 sections, right? So if we take 6 for 1, we would have to multiply that by 3 to find how many are in 3, right? So 6 times 3 is 18. Then with what's left, if that's just the whole number, with what's left we have 5 more, so that's why it's 18 plus 5. We're not going to multiply again, we're just going to plus 5 because it's those 3 whole numbers plus this fraction number. That's how we get to the 23/6. That might sound confusing right now, but if we practice it a few times, and I'm even going to talk you through it a few times just like we did, because this is one of those ones that it might take a while to click, but once it does, it's going to make your life so much easier. All right, so we described the arithmetic for changing a mixed number from 3 and 5/6 to an improper fraction. Recall that a mixed number is a whole number, 3, and a part number, fraction. All right, so we're just breaking that apart. The denominator of the mixed number is also going to be the denominator for the improper fraction. So because that's the common denominator, that's what we're going to change this whole number to. So it will be 3 and 5/6. When we're done, we're going to have something over 6 when it's an improper fraction. All right, so, and we can pull that apart. We did this earlier with pictures, but now we can just show the different pieces. So if we have 3 and 5/6, and we change that 3 to something over 6, it's just going to be 6 over 6 plus 6 over 6 plus 6 over 6. That's 3 of those, right? So 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 18, plus 5 more is 23. That's how we get there. I know I'm beating this to death, but this is such a hard thing for so many students to get. So it's good to just think about how did we get there. All right, so let's try this with 2 and 3/4. If we want to write that as an improper fraction, we see that our denominator that we're going to use is 4, and then we have to take this 2 and make it out into 4s. So to do that, we could say 4/4 plus 4/4, that's 2 of them, right? Or we could just do 2 times 4. And I like to, for whatever reason, it's easier for me. I even put my finger on it when I'm doing these math problems. I say 4 times 2 is 8, plus 3 is 11. 11/4 is the answer. When we draw it out, we're going to just put that common denominator first. Then we're going to break it up. 2 times 4 is 8/4, and then write it out plus 3/4. I usually don't write it out. It's easier, again, to just do this mentally. 4 plus 2 is 8, plus 3 is 11, 11/4. But if you want to write it out and break it out, that might actually help you to remember the process a little bit better, all right? And that's how we get to 11/4. Let's try one more. Oh, they want us to draw a model, so we're just going to draw 2 holes and then one that has 3/4, so it's going to look like this. 2 holes and then 3/4. And then if we count these up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11/4. So it totally works. All right, let's do one more. Right, 5 and 2, actually we're going to do 2 more. We're going to do this one and then we're going to do one that has multiple ones so we can find a product. So write 5 and 2/3 as an improper fraction. Again, you can just do it by holding your finger on. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 2 is 17, 17/3. Or you can take the 5 times 3 is 15/3, put that first, plus 2/3. 15/3 plus 2/3 is also 17/3. So the mechanical method to find the numerator in the improper fraction, looking at the mixed number, you can multiply the denominator by the whole number, then add the numerator. That's what I just did. 5 times 3 plus 2, and then you're going to get 17/3. So they're showing you don't have to break it apart. You can do it the way I do it. I think that's the way that most people do it, is you just circle around. All right, here's where it gets a little trickier. When we look at it, we see that there's not a common denominator now. Now the good news is, so what? You do it the same way. This is still the same process. So we're just going to go 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5, 5/3. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12/5. Then we have, what was that, thirds, 5/3, and 12/5. I'm going to have to write these down. I can't hold all those numbers in my head. So we'll do it here. We get our 5/3 and our 12/5. Now, if we're going to multiply the improper fractions, we're just multiplying 5/3 and 12/5. We don't have to deal with the whole numbers. You can't do 1 times 2 and then 2/3 times 2/5. It doesn't work that way. You have to convert into improper fractions first, or it's not going to work, okay? So we get 5/3 times 12/5. 5 times 12 is 60. 3 times 5 is 15, so we get 60 over 15. When we actually divide 15 into 60, we get 4. So that's our simplifying. You can reduce that by just finding the common factors. 60 divided by 5 is 12. 15 divided by 5 is 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So you can reduce it that way. Or if you just know your 15 times tables, you know 60 divided by 5 is 4 because 15 times 2 is 30 and 30 times 2 is 60. So lots of different ways you can reduce that one. So 1 and 2/3 times 2 and 2/5 equals 4. And the way I like to check my math on this one, you can go back through the whole thing to check your work, but you can also just think about it logically. 2 and a little bit times almost 2. 2 times 2 is about 4. And so it makes sense that our answer is going to be close to 4, right? In this case, it's exactly 4. But it's good to check your work and just think about the fractions. I like to change them into decimals. I know that 2/5 is going to be 0.4, but you can also just think like 2 and that's almost a half, 2 1/2. And that's almost 2, 1.67. So you could just round and be like, that's 2, and that's close to 2 and a little bit. So one's a little less than 2, one's a little more than 2. If you multiply those together, you get 4. All right, that's the lesson for today. It's going to take some practice. This one might feel a little frustrating at first, so just keep through it. And we'll, of course, with Saxon math, that's one of the cool things is it's cumulative. So we'll keep coming back to this principle. You'll get to practice it throughout the rest of the year. So just do your best. All right, bye.